What's going on, guys? Welcome to a special edition of CritiX Talk. I'm one of your hosts, Klep Napier, and I'm here with my homeboy,
the elusive one, Wade Swift.
The elusive one. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, we're going to be talking about all things 2019.
Yes,
it is the end of the year, so we're wrapping it up with you guys. We want to talk about some of our favorite picks of the year: 2019 movies, 2019 television shows. Some we love, some we probably didn't, some you probably didn't, some that you probably did. So let's jump right into it, Wade. I want to talk about the beginning of the year, top of the year. I honestly don't feel like this year was that strong in the theater. I'm gonna be quite frank. This was one of the weakest years we've had in film. Not because there wasn't a lot of good quality, but I think there were a lot more things out there that grab attention more than others. And once you have that epic, I've seen the thing I've been waiting for,
it's kind of like,
the rest of the year is kind of just like, I'd rather just Netflix and chill.
Yeah. And I don't think it was for like a lack of trying either. I think there was a lot of big movies that, that could have been, but I think they fell short. And yeah, I think you hit the head on the nail, honestly. Netflix. I feel like Netflix kind of killed it this year. I feel like Netflix originals were bigger than anything that kind of was in theaters.
Yeah, you might be right. And there were Netflix things that actually went to theaters and did a little bit of numbers there as well, and then went to Netflix and still killed it. But
a few of my picks from the top of the best of the year were Netflix originals.
Yeah. So we're gonna give you guys somewhat of a top 10, not in specific order. They're not ranked. They're just our picks of the year that kind of stood out to us that we think are worthy of a watch or maybe a rewatch. And so it's gonna be 5 and 5. I have mine. Wade has his. And Wade, you wanna jump us off? What do you have on the list? Your first go-to, or something that kind of stays with you throughout the entire year that you kind of went back to a couple of times?
I kind of want to kick it off with an unexpected one, because a few of mine are kind of. I feel like that would be a lot of people's lists. I'm gonna go with The King.
The King.
The Netflix original.
That's one that I skipped over. Who's in that? Tell us about that one.
Timothy Chalamet. We got Robert Pattinson's in it. We got Lily Rose Depp, Joel Edgerton. The cast it's there. Ed Harris. Basically, it's a modern day Shakespearean war king story. It's kind of the crown. What was that? Fuck. I'm drawing a blank on that quote. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty much like it's your Gladiator, it's your Game of Thrones. It's in between there. It's got that vibe. I mean, the score, the acting, the cast, across the board, it's honestly one of my standout films of the year. And it honestly shocked the shit out of me.
Really?
I kind of watched it on a whim. It was one of those Netflix and chill nights. I threw it on, and I was blown away. And it was late night too. I was kind of throwing it on to kind of fall asleep to. And it got me going. And I just put my review out on it a couple weeks ago. And yeah, honestly, one of the bigger films of the year. I thought it could have went to theaters and had a big run, to be honest.
Yeah.
And it had that cast too.
I think that's what Netflix is going to start doing in the future. I think they're going to be, doing limited releases just so they can get into that Oscar realm, which is not fair. Well, I mean, yeah, I guess, because they are putting out quality stuff. The budgets that they're doing now are they're right there up there with movie studios.
100%.
They're not doing television production value. They're doing blockbuster value.
Absolutely.
And so I think maybe did it? You sure it didn't do a limited run at all?
I think it did do it might have did overseas? A limited run. I think it might have done a limited run. Honestly, it's an English movie. It's about England. So maybe over there in the United Kingdom they might have had a limited run. I don't believe we had one out here.
And that's the thing. We don't get the same kind of marketing that they get over there. A lot of times these movies are released and we don't even know that they're released.
Like The Irishman, that's another one that had a limited run, and I don't think that worldwide I don't think it had any runs, but obviously in the States it had its limited runs. There was a couple theaters around here that were running it. And it's I get the Netflix original. It's you want to give people convenience. You want to give, people that are paying for your service, but it's some of these movies, like I was kind of upset that I watched The King on Netflix because like the cinematography was beautiful, like it was pristine, bro. And like I'm sitting here watching it like, shit, I wish I watched this in theaters. This would have been a vibe in theaters.
So anyone at home that has a 65+ inch television will probably enjoy this.
Yo, crank that. Yes, throw that on right now. Do yourself the biggest favor.
This kid, I've never seen him before. Where was he from?
Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah.
I recall him from Interstellar. He's
Gotcha.
he plays Casey Affleck's younger, like the younger version of Casey Affleck,
which I can see completely.
Yeah, and like, he does a great role in that. Like he's obviously has a way more smaller role in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why it shocked me because I was like, oh, is that the kid from Interstellar? I mean, yeah, it was Interstellar. Yeah. I'm like, was that the kid from Interstellar? And it was. And dude, he just bodies it. Like I don't think he's done any other stuff like this. And it's like, bro, like Gladiator levels, like Russell Crowe levels.
Yeah. I do remember him a little bit. He was in Lady Bird as well. I remember seeing him.
That's
in
right.
Bird. Yeah, no, that's definitely. See, you said Game of Thrones and you lost me because I'm not really. I'm never,
no, we agree on that. I'm not a Game of Thrones guy either, but it's in that pocket. You know what I mean?
Don't kill us, people out there. I know the whole
world
is in love with
we're the minority with that one. Yeah, for sure.
Some of us are, some of us are not. But I've tried, but it's not. I've never been a medieval times kind of guy.
And that's why I'm saying, bro, like that's why it shocked me. Like I said, I threw it on just cause. Honestly, it was more so for Pattinson. I'm really kind of getting hyped for him as Batman. And
dude, he's working.
And I seen he was in it, bro. He plays like the heir to the French throne, and his like French accent is actually like on point. I was actually really surprised. Dude, Robert Pattinson is surprising people, honestly.
He's putting in that work, y'all. He's getting prepared for the role of his life, and it's crazy that it has to be the Batman. That everyone is. He's done all this stuff, which you're saying a lot of it is good because I know you've seen most of it. Most of all the stuff that he's done this year, Lighthouse, you've seen all of those, and people are castrating him about the Batman. And it's like, dude, how do you get the Batman wrong?
I don't know what it is about Batman. It's like we were just talking about that, how like we were looking back on the decade, and it's like Ben Affleck had a really good decade. For some reason, people just didn't want to see that man as Batman.
And I liked him I loved him.
Me
as
too.
Batman.
And it's like I don't know who the fans want. You know what I mean? It's like they keep picking these like valid actors, and they're getting crucified for whatever reason. I don't know what it is.
I don't know. I guess maybe there's a way that you can overdo it and a way that you can underdo it. I think we've seen overdoing Batman with Kilmer.
I like Kilmer. You're not going to get an agreement with me on that.
I think Kilmer was an overdoing of the Bruce Wayne Batman. I feel like Clooney might have been an underdoing because I feel like
Clooney should have been a not a doing.
I feel like he just showed up. It was like, I'm Clooney.
It was like, yes.
I just showed up.
It was like, I'm here to get the women to come see this movie.
Yeah. So far, I think the best iteration right now would be the Affleck or Bale.
Yeah. No, I agree. I wish they gave Affleck a little bit bigger run because I was with the Affleck movement 100%.
Me too.
I thought he was one of the best.
Yeah.
Just as far as like the aesthetic that they brought for him, I thought he did fantastic, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But I mean, Twitter rules all, and they were not fucking with the Batfleck.
Twitter runs the industry.
Yeah, literally. So let's get your pick.
I'm gonna go straight up and
give us an unexpected one first.
I do have a very, very unexpected one. This is my number one, not in ranking, but the first one that I wanted to talk about, because with me, I'm always about watching films for the lighthearted entertainment of things, the escape. Mm-hmm. I'm a huge horror fan, so I had to give this the Happy Death Day to You. I was a huge fan of the original. It's not a really original take on anything. It just literally takes Groundhog Day and mixes it with like Scream. Basically, this female is having a reoccurring day over and over, but every time she gets murdered, she wakes up and starts the day over. So it becomes a mystery, and she's to find out who was the one that killed her. Mm-hmm. That was the premise of the first one. Now the second one, it's weird because the director and the writers they kind of poke fun at genres. So the first one was a straight up horror movie meets Groundhog Day, and then the second one becomes sci-fi meets horror meets Groundhog Day.
Yeah, that's. When you explained that to me, I was like, huh?
So basically, she figures out the origin of the time loop, it wasn't her. It wasn't something magical or mystical. It was happening because of some nerds that were on the campus, the college campus with her, who were creating some kind of quantum device that somehow caused a ripple in time and kept re-looping the time. Meanwhile, there's a murderer on campus.
I really want to dive into this because I don't know what the fuck you saw in this movie.
Yeah, it's really quirky.
But it got you.
It's really quirky, and the girl, the lead actress, she's really, really good. She carries the entire film by herself, so that's why I really liked it, because I like to see people take something so stupid, and Jessica Roth is her name. I like to see people take something so quirky, so stupid, and actually make it entertaining.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we've come to love a lot of comedians who can do that. Carey, Sandler, like they take like, come on, what is it? Gilmore and Madison. They're not fucking great.
Yes,
but they take what it is.
Robin Williams did it with
you know. So
what was it when he played the grown kid?
Oh, Jack,
yeah. And it's like, this is such a bad idea, but he executed.
So they take two of the things that I love. They take comedy and horror, put it together, and it works really well. The first one was worth talking about. The second one, I like that they were able to continue it and make it make sense. It ended on a note where it looked like there was going to be a third, but there probably won't be, which is stupid. You know, I feel like every movie deserves an ending. Every storyline deserves an ending.
Yeah, like if you're not going to continue the story forward,
you
should leave it.
Yeah.
But they don't do that all the time. And honestly, I feel like that's becoming more common again. Because I feel like the late 80s movies, early 90s used to do that all the time, where it would just kind of leave you to have your own interpretation of how things end. It doesn't give you the closure, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like either end it, or if
give us a cliffhanger for a proper 3.
Yeah, for a proper ending.
Yeah.
I think every movie deserves that, at least.
No, I agree.
Because there's a lot of movies out there that didn't end properly that deserve that proper ending. Not a
We're still waiting for the ending.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, so that's my Happy Death Day 2. The Happy Death Day 2 You is the sequel. That's the one that we're talking about. That was the standout film of 2019. One of
folks, just so you know, the fact that made this man's list goes to show you what kind of a year this was in cinema.
Yeah, like
that hit the list. That hit his 5.
It's just something different. I like the escape.
No, and I respect that.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
I honestly, that was one thing. I don't know who I was talking about with that the other day, and I'm like, you don't like. People will butcher something when it's different, and it's like, just take something for what it is. You know what I mean? Take it for what it is and be like, all right, for what it is, it's kind of dope. You know what I mean? Like, it's not every movie is gonna be some Scorsese epic or some fucking Nolan epic. You know what I mean? It's gonna be something different, and at the end of the day, cinema needs that. We need that as fans of the film. We want to go and be like, wasn't expecting that, but it was dope. You know what I mean?
And you can always tell, like, when a movie resonates with pop culture, because, like I said, the babyface killer, which is the killer in this movie, I go to cons and I've seen people cosplay him.
Yeah.
So at some point, this movie has touched other people to a point where they want to cosplay characters from it.
Was that the one that had the app? Which one had the app?
No, that was Countdown.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Which was another
similar to me.
Countdown was a standout to me because it was just a different premise. Like it modernized horror, which is hard to do.
Yes.
Because a lot of times it's like, we live in a world where we have cell phones, we have social media. There's no more,
slasher,
ominous.
Yes.
I don't know what to do or where to go, where to hide. Like, the whole world is watching. There's no way to sneak up on anyone anymore. So to be able to modernize horror was a cool thing. So I like that movie.
Because I remember, you
didn't make my list, but it was cool.
I'm gonna go with my next is gonna be, I'm gonna do Ad Astra, another one I just want to get the ones out that you didn't get to see.
Go ahead.
Out of the way. Ad Astra starring Brad Pitt. Personally, I'm just a huge fan of space movies. Yeah. Like, if you're doing a film in space, I'm a rock with it, and chances are I'll probably like it. I can't think of a space movie that I didn't like. Okay. This was kind of a more minimalistic take on the whole space genre. It's very simple and straight to the point, and it's very it's a visceral performance from Brad Pitt. Honestly, this was kind of like low-key the year of Pitt. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, he did a lot.
Because I saw that maybe a couple weeks, maybe a month after I saw Once Upon a Time, and like he's starring in this one. He has a supporting role in Once Upon a Time, but he's starring in this one, and he really carries the film. And I'm not like a huge Pitt fan. I've never been like. I mean, in retrospect, I look at his catalog, and obviously he's got hits on hits on hits. But I've never been like, Pitt's in that, I'm going to go see that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he really bodied this film, and he kind of carried it. It's a very, like, visually stunning, visceral performance from Pitt. And the combination really, like, it stood out to me. When I walked away from it, I wasn't like, this isn't the best movie. But as far as this year went, it, like, kind of hit me. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it locked me, like you were saying, like, the movies that kind of take you out of where you're at.
Yeah.
And they give you that escapism. I fuck with those movies because it's very rare nowadays that you get that.
Yeah.
Especially in the era of the comic book film where it's like, you know what the fuck you're watching.
Yeah.
You know you're watching a comic book film. It's right in front of you. You know what I mean? And even with a few of those, they have pulled me in where I'm like, holy shit, I feel like I'm in a whole other world. Mm-hmm. Black Panther was one of those where I was like, I felt like I was like in another planet.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ad Astra, definitely a must-see for me. Especially if you're into the space genre. You got to check that out.
And I mean, the cast looks phenomenal as well. I see they got Tommy Lee Jones in it, Donald Sutherland, which Kiefer Sutherland's dad. I haven't seen him do anything in a long time. Who would you say is like the MVP of this film? Like other than Pitt, who's really shining in this movie?
I mean, it really is. That's the thing about this film. Like I said, it's visceral. It's very. It's you're in Pitt's face the whole time. It's Pitt.
Really?
Yeah. Like so, you needed. When I watched it, I remember. I think I saw it with Mark, and I was just like, yo, this. Not a lot of guys could have carried this movie because it's one of them flicks where it's all his reaction, it's all in his emotions, it's all in the expressions he's making when he hears this, when he finds out about this. You know what I mean? So obviously it's Pitt. I think Tommy Lee Jones comes in and he plays Pitt's dad in the movie. He kind of has a pivotal role. I would probably say Tommy Lee, especially to kind of see him come out of pretty much retire. I don't know if we seen him in anything recently. Tommy Lee Jones, like what was the last thing I seen him in? I think the last thing I seen him in was what was that flick where he was like leading, he was like a sheriff and he was like the cheerleader house.
Oh my God.
You know what I'm talking about.
What was that?
It was like Texas, he was like the Texas Longhorn.
I want to say something the house or not bringing down the house.
It was something like that. That was probably like 09, 08. No, I know I'm digging in the crates for that one, but I can't think of anything else I've seen him in recently. And it was a serious role for him. It was a dramatic role. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Did I think he was great? Not really. But like I said, this is one of those films where it's kind of just, it was really them too. There was a couple little appearances from other people, obviously.
Yeah.
Because Pitt's got to get his orders to go up to space. But yeah, there's not a lot of dialogue. It's a lot of visuals and it's space. It's a space movie. It's what you would want from a space movie. What I would compare it to is how Dunkirk got a lot of flack for its like lack of dialogue, but it was visual. And you know what I mean? And it was all emotion, and you felt it. It was visceral. I feel like it was like the space version of that, where it's one guy, and he's in space. You know what I mean? And he has a few encounters with other people, obviously, but it's Pitt. So if you're not a fan of Brad Pitt, probably don't go see this movie. If you are a fan of Brad Pitt, you should have already seen it.
Yeah.
Because it is I've seen probably all of his movies, or a good chunk of his movies. Is one of his best performances I've ever seen. So yeah, shout out to Brad Pitt in the space genre, keeping it moving with that one.
There you have it, guys. Ad Astra. No relation to that book that me and Miggs did the horror thing about, which is really weird. But yeah, Ad Astra. Make sure y'all check that out. I'm gonna keep it rolling with another one that was probably a sleeper, which was really, really good, surprisingly. But probably didn't get the praise it deserved. Was Fighting With My Family, which was a WWE produced film, based on one of their star wrestlers.
Who was it?
Her name is Paige.
Oh, okay.
She kind of revolutionized the whole the new wrestling style of women in the WWE.
She the Irish girl?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So
my nephew's huge in the WWE. Don't ask me how I know these things.
I believe she was Irish. Yeah, she was Irish. So basically,
she's like kind of the leader of the women movement. I think she was. I just got my nephew the WWE 2K20. Mm-hmm. She's on the cover with Roman Reigns. She was the first ever female to have a female-led storyline in a video game for WWE. You could never be a woman prior. Mm-hmm. You can now, so that makes sense. That I might have to check this out.
Yeah, it's actually not bad. The cast is quirky. You have what's Simon Pegg's guy, the fat dude who's in all the Simon Pegg's, Shaun of the Deads, and Nick Frost.
Yep.
Nick Frost is in it. He plays her dad. Basically, the story follows her and her family. They're a big wrestling family. She and her brother, their whole life have trained. They do their own circuit underground, and they train their whole life to make the big time, which is the WWE, where they're from. It's like the end all be all. It's like the NFL for America. And they get a call to come out and try out. They both try out. Her brother, who is like expected to be the one to take over for the family, doesn't get accepted. She does.
She got to step up.
She had to step up. She goes, she has a little doubts with herself. She doesn't know if she's good enough. Her brother's in a corner. The family's in a corner. So she ends up, and I don't know how much of this is true, but The Rock played a big part.
I can see that.
Yeah, The Rock was in the movie playing himself, but I'm not familiar with her story in real life, so I don't know how much of a big deal he played, but he definitely kind of helped her along the way, gave her first debut fight was WrestleMania.
I didn't know that.
Which is fucking huge.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Her first debut, and she ended up winning the title.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure she won, yeah.
Yeah, she won the title. First time I've ever seen the debut of any new wrestler, not even just a woman, but any new wrestler just coming into the game at WrestleMania and taking the title from the title holder. So kudos to her for that, but the story itself has a lot of heart. It's very, 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 very fun to watch. It's hilarious. I just think it was a good watch. Definitely something you should just put on with the fam or your loved one, whoever you're with, and just kick back. Especially if you're a wrestling fan. If you haven't seen this and you're a wrestling fan, you're not really a wrestling fan. So I would definitely check this out. Yeah, Fighting with my family.
My nephew is huge into wrestling. I got to put him onto this. I didn't know, but was it on Netflix? Or
no, this came to theaters. This actually came to theaters. I saw this in theaters over the summer sometime. Actually, no, it was in the beginning of the year. It was like February, maybe like February, March, around that time. And it's about the wrestler Paige, and it stars The Rock is in it. There's a lot of cameos in it. I'm trying to think. Florence Pugh. I don't know. Poe. I don't know how to say her name, but she's in the movie, playing.
Damn, that's dope.
Paige. Yeah, so it was a sleeper, but it was definitely worth it. It was funny. It was definitely cool. So Fighting with My Family, guys, check that out. It's one of my picks.
All right, so to keep it moving, I'm gonna go with a pick that was on both of our lists. I think it would probably, hopefully, be on like everybody's list this year. I feel like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the iconic ninth film from the legendary Quentin Tarantino, starring Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio.
Another Pitt film.
Yeah, Pitt bodied it this year. I'm saying I think it was the year of the Pitt. I'm not gonna lie.
Margot Robbie's in
Margot Robbie. I mean, it's got its fair share.
Anyone who's anyone.
Yeah, like and it's just one of those movies that, like, if you're a fan of film and you grew up like in theaters and you were living in the movie theater, this is gonna be a movie that's gonna just hit you right to the core.
Yeah,
it is gonna bring you right back to childhood. And for me personally, I always had like a weird obsession with like Hollywood and like LA and California.
That era, that time.
Yeah, that timeless like Burt Reynolds era where he was like the GOAT of everything. And like Jack Nicholson was young and up and coming, and it was like that era of like palm trees and bad bitches and
before CGI and everything was in a studio.
It was just one fucking camera and it was moving and grooving. Yes. Yeah. It will bring you back to that time. I mean, it is the definition of what we were talking about earlier with escapism and movies being able to kind of take you out of where you're at and bring you to another place. This movie does that in fucking spades. Like, it transports you. If you've never been to LA, this movie's taking you to LA on a fucking one-way flight. You know what I mean? So definitely check that flick out. I mean, it's a great storyline. I think there was a misconception early on about what the movie was actually going to be about. There was a lot of talks about it being like a Sharon Tate movie and it just being based on the Manson murders. And while it does involve that like storyline in it, it's not the vocal point of the movie. It's really kind of just like a quirky film about two buddies, you know, a man and his stuntman. I was watching an interview recently with Tarantino, and he was talking about kind of what gave him the inspiration for it. And he was just on the set of some movie, and he was like looking at this dynamic of like, I forget who he said the actor was, but it was like, I don't think he said his name actually. It was an actor and his stuntman, and he was just seeing them like, he just sat back and was kind of observing their relationship and how close they were. And You know, he was like, you could tell one's a little older and he's kind of might be fading away from the spotlight. And it's like, it's exactly what you see in the movie.
Yeah.
And it's just such a fucking funny storyline. I didn't even go in thinking it was supposed to be a comedy. I thought it was going to be kind of like a drama. Yeah. And it kind of is just like kind of a, like how buddy cop comedies want to be. That's what this movie was. Just minus the badge. It's just two regular guys.
I like how, like, I went into this film knowing absolutely nothing. I just went in knowing it was a Tarantino film, so I didn't know what to expect. What I love about it is when you go in not expecting anything, and they're able to pull you in, like you said, help you escape, appreciate the art form. It just works. Like all that other stuff, like the Sharon Tate stuff, came cool at the end. Like, I love the ending because it's pretty much him telling a tale about two men who are around in this time instead of biopicking the issue. You know what I mean? It's just, this was happening
around
parallel
that time
to this.
Yes.
And he even decided to have fun with it.
Yeah.
We'll say that.
It's like, we don't need to spoil it, but he did what Quentin Tarantino does.
Yeah, he had a lot of fun with it, and very unexpected twist.
Yes.
At the end.
Very needed twist. Like, it was very satisfying.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's definitely, I agree. This definitely needs to be on anyone's list of 2019 as one of the standout films because, like you said, it wasn't a lot, but this is definitely one that deserves to stand out.
Yeah, like you could have put this one in any year, and I feel like it would make a list.
Yeah.
It would make a top 5, top 10 list of the year. And when we were doing our research for the decade films. There's a few years that are like, there's obviously going to be years where they're better than others. There's going to, like, there's certain years where there's 10, 12, 14 films that are like standout, A+ Oscar worthy films. And then there's years where there is literally not one of those. This movie would have fit into any of those years. It's a timeless movie.
Yeah.
We could play it in 50 years. It's going to have the same effect. It's a timepiece. It takes you back to that era. And it's one of those movies that it takes its time. It's a very slow burn in the most beautiful way.
How many hours was that film, by the way?
It was like 3. It might have been 3.5. I'm not gonna lie.
It was actually almost 3. It was
2:45. Yeah, you're right.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, like, just a sidetrack, like, in a time, because even the last one you saw, The King, that one was like 2.5 as well, almost. It's like 2:20 or something like that.
Which I felt like it could have been longer.
With that, The Irishman. Even one of my picks that we're going to talk about later, do you think that's where we're going? Because I'm really not a fan of it unless it's something that I really want. I don't like when they just kind of give us something and then they say, yeah, by the way, it's 3 hours long. Like The Irishman. Like, people want to see it, but I don't think anyone wanted to see it that badly where they were willing to sit 3 hours. What was it, 3.5 hours?
Yeah.
It was longer than Endgame. It's 3.5 hours.
What I'll say about that is I do agree with you in one sense. I feel like if you're doing it just to do it, then that's gonna show itself. It's gonna reveal itself, and people aren't gonna fluctuate towards it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when it's necessary, like The Irishman, people have been waiting for like a Scorsese and Pacino matchup forever.
Yeah.
People have been waiting for, that trio of actors to be in the same movie forever. And with Scorsese on the top of it, it's almost like it was a gift to Scorsese fans, to fans of the mob film era, any fan of Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, Joe Pesci, like, Ray Romano's in it. Like, it's got like a loaded cast. It's for that era, and it's kind of like his bow on that era. Like, I don't see Scorsese doing many more mob type films because obviously that era has kind of passed us by.
Yeah.
And it was an ode to that era. I felt like with that film, it was definitely necessary. With Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the amount of time and effort that he put creating that set and creating that time for us, you gotta let that ride out. You know what I mean? And I was so glad that he took his time with that one. I'm trying to think of a movie because it was one movie that came out this year that was up in that 2.5, 3 hour. I think Uncut Gems was a little long. And that could have been trimmed down a little bit. It's not always going to work, but we're fans of cinema. You get us in a theater and you get the right fucking movie going and it's like a really good film, we'll sit there for 4 or 5 hours if it's worth it.
Yeah.
If it's worth it. You know what I mean? So I think I do notice the trend that we're going in that direction, and I'm with it as long as you're not doing it just for shits and giggles.
Yeah.
As long as there's a purpose behind it.
Cool. So I want to get into my next one. Not a sleeper. I think this one was expected.
Drum roll.
It's this one was a almost 3 hour long movie as well. A sequel to was it the 2018?
Mm-hmm. Was it 17?
17.
I think it was 17.
It Chapter 2. 2017. It Chapter 2 definitely made my list, and here's why. Because growing up on the original It, have always been a fan of this film. Of course, a fan of horror. Mm-hmm. That movie scared the shit out of me, and it was only made for television. Scared the shit out of me. Now, with the remake, I thought it was phenomenal. I thought they told the story well. I thought it was very well casted. Those kids, this new generation of new brats that are out there doing their thing. They're phenomenal. They're leaving staples in the game.
Absolutely.
So the sequel was very, very, very well received by me. Some people were on the fence about it. I don't understand why. I think that it delivered the way it was supposed to deliver. I think it was very close to the original storyline, very close to the original book. And I have no kind of issues with it whatsoever. Now, as far as it being scary enough, I think the term scary is it's all up to the person who's watching it. You know what I mean?
It's super subjective.
If you go see a scary movie, 9 times out of 10, it's not going to be scary if you're going into it expecting it to be scary. You just got to kind of go with the flow and take the ride for what it is.
Yes.
And I just think that it was well written. I think the characters had growth. I think that everything wrapped up in a bow very, very well. It was believable, even though it's fantasy, it's horror, but it was still the story stayed true to its origin and its predecessor.
Yep.
The original film, and I liked it. I didn't have any problems with it.
No, I'm gonna have to agree. Honestly, well, the thing is I think sometimes we focus on the negativity, just as a culture, not even just us. I think as a culture, obviously as critics, I think we try to steer more towards positive vibes, because like we're fans of the art of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we're not here just to be like, well, we're critics. We got to rip shit apart. Like, no, if you deliver, we're going to speak positively about it. And I just feel like they delivered. I think it's really hard. Sequels are not easy. You know what I mean? Especially if you're not doing a trilogy.
Yeah.
If you're just doing the 2-part thing, it's very difficult to like wrap the bow and seal it how the fans want or how the fans expect or how the book went. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I just thought they did such... All that really needs to be said about this fucking movie is Stephen King's in it.
Right?
That man never puts his cosign on shit.
Yeah.
He has had his books remade dozens of times.
Yeah.
And he's either shitting on it or he's looking the other way and not acknowledging it. He's in this fucking movie.
Yeah.
So clearly he's with it.
He loved the original.
And I thought this was so well done. I think that the casting for the young kids to the adults was flawless.
Yeah.
I thought it was seamless.
Yeah.
I thought each person, their adult version was such a perfect counterpart to the original version, and you couldn't have done a better job in that front, and they all delivered as far as their performances.
Yeah.
The story is great. Is it as scary as the first one? No. But it's funny. It still has because what I loved about the first one was it had that perfect blend of humor and horror.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It had both.
Yeah.
In like even doses. And I thought they did a good job in this one. I think they favored the comedy more in this one a little bit. But I'm a fan of comedies and I'm a fan of good, well-written humor. And I thought it was well-written. I thought Bill Hader bodied it.
Yeah,
I thought that was like
standout.
a coming out party for him. I've never seen him do what he did in this film. Which makes sense because the child version of him was kind of stole the show in the first one, Wolfhard.
Yep.
And I mean, it was very close to making my list, to be honest. I loved it. Yeah, there's been hate, but it's long, and a lot of people don't like that.
Yeah.
Did it fizzle towards the end a little bit? Yeah. I think it could have, skyrocketed more towards the end, and it didn't. But I loved it, and I completely agree with you. It was definitely one of the more memorable films of the year, and it absolutely belongs on this list.
Yeah, I agree with everything you're saying. I think Bill Skarsgård was a standout villain. He definitely gave a nod to the original Tim Curry, but I think he made this his own. I think that this franchise stands on its own. It doesn't borrow anything from the originals at all. bravo.
Oh, absolutely. No,
Definitely
my
a pick
hat's off
on my list as a standout for 2019. It Chapter 2. If you haven't seen it, please see the first one and then see this one, and then compare it to the original later. But hands down, I think it was a great film.
Yeah, and just to put a little end note on that, I've heard from a few people that they heard the negative feedback on it and then didn't go check it out. And I just want to say, like, if you're one of those people that like listened to the negative feedback, please do yourself the biggest favor and like check it out yourself, because I think you'll be pleasantly surprised in how they pulled through and kind of really did a good job with that. Because sequels, like I said, like they're not easy and they usually don't really pan out that well. I mean, it's not everything is The Godfather Part 2. It doesn't always work out that way. That's a very rare instance. So yeah, definitely check that out, and it absolutely belongs on this list. Just to keep it rolling, I'm gonna go back a little backward to what we were just referencing. Another one of those 3-hour movies, 3.5. The Irishman. A lot of talks about this for years. This movie's been getting in the works for about 7 years now. If you don't know, Scorsese was trying to put this thing together. He wanted it a final epic. Good friend of critics, fellow reviewer Tony Romeo probably put it the best. If you look at Goodfellas and Casino as like 1-2, because most people kind of look at Goodfellas as like 1, and Casino was kind of the unofficial sequel to that. This would be like the trilogy. This would complete that like trilogy of mob epics that are pretty much based on true events. And they have this same old Scorsese cast of, Joe Pesci, Robert De Niro, Al Pacino. Who do we got there? We got Ray Romano. We got... Who else was in that?
Oh man, Bobby Cannavale.
Oh my God.
Harvey Keitel.
Harvey Keitel. Oh my God,
sorry.
Keitel. Shout out to the legend Harvey Keitel. I mean, he brings back all the legends.
Yeah.
From Mean Streets to like, if you're a fan of Scorsese, this is a must see. If you're a fan of that genre, this is a must see. It's 3.5 hours, and like I said, me and this man are like die-hard film. Like, if you make a film dope enough and it's 5-6 hours, we're watching it and we're gonna enjoy it, and we're not gonna be like, whoa, it was too long. And to the credit of like all the people that I've seen talking about this film, this was not an issue for a lot of people.
Yeah.
From the most part, I've heard the most hate from people who didn't check it out. That were like, oh, it's 3.5 hours. I can't. It's just too long. I can't do it.
Yeah.
Everyone that's watched it, and I made my mom watch it. My mom don't even really get into these like mob films like that. But I started kind of explaining the storyline to her about the Jimmy Hoffa and John F. Kennedy and how all these how the mob kind of infiltrated all these different avenues. She kind of got intrigued by it. And she was like, what is this again? And I told her, I was like, it's a movie that just came out. It's Martin Scorsese. It's on Netflix. So she watched it and she loved it. And if my mom will sit there and watch 3.5 hour movie, anyone can go see this movie and watch it and enjoy it. Again, if you're into that, if you are into like historical events, if you're into like the mob lifestyle, you're gonna like this film. I mean, Scorsese came back in tremendous fashion and he bodied it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I don't have any issues with this movie. I only have one issue with the movie, actually. I'm going to take that back.
Let's hear it.
The only thing I didn't enjoy about the movie was the whole CGI thing.
Absolutely.
I think that's a Disney formula that should just stay with Disney, and the whole younging people up. And listen, they got that down. I don't know what kind of movie magic they got working over there on their end.
Money talks.
Everyone can't do it like Disney. Let me tell you that right now. And it was noticeable in this film for me. The blue eyes, Pesci's transformation was...
I thought Pesci's was actually one of the better ones.
Really?
I thought Pesci's and Pacino's were pretty good. De Niro's was horrendous.
Yeah.
I did not like a lot of the... No, and that was honestly one of the things that kind of got me... that kind of turned me off about the film. There wasn't many things that I disliked about the film, but that was a huge one. I really feel like I wish that they just kind of... I get that he was trying to rock out with his all-stars that he's been working with for, almost 3 decades. 3.5, probably 4 decades now. Jesus.
Yeah.
And I understand that, but I just feel like the film would have been better served having a younger guy
just
play De Niro.
Yeah.
Play a younger De Niro.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
and
there would have been no harm, no foul with that. I don't think anyone would have had an issue with it. There was one scene me and my brother were talking about the other day where De Niro's kind of like stomping a guy out in front of a grocery store, and it's like, Robert De Niro, I don't know if he's like 68, 70 years old. He should have had a stand-in, we'll put it that way. It was he's playing his younger self, probably in his 30s, early 40s, and he is moving and grooving like an 80-year-old man. And it is not believable at all, and it just kind of makes you want to like cover your eyes and just pretend that you didn't see it. So I agree with you on that, and that is a big knock on that film. I think looking back, I feel like he might think that he should have went a little different route with that. But besides that, great movie. Definitely one of the standout films. It was definitely worth the hype. Could you agree that it was worth the hype, though?
Yeah, no, it was definitely worth the hype and seeing those guys on screen again together.
It was just good to see Joe Pesci back on the fucking screen.
Yeah, I love
again.
Pesci.
And he delivered.
He's really like one of my standouts. Actually, him and Pacino.
Him and Pacino absolutely bodied their roles.
I feel like De Niro didn't shine as much as he should have.
No, I agree. And I feel like that's been I think that's a general consensus amongst people that saw the film, that De Niro could have probably did a little better. I thought he obviously had the toughest role, being that he had to play. If you guys haven't seen it, it's a film that goes. It's a long movie, and it goes throughout their lifetimes. It starts with them in their like early 30s. Then they fast forward to like 10, 15 years later when he's in his 40s, 50s, and then it caps off towards the end, and he's probably in his 80s at that point.
Yep.
So it's a difficult task for any actor, but I agree. I think De Niro probably was the weakest link as far as those three. I mean, it's like a good rap song that's got like 5 all-stars on it. It's like somebody's gonna get outshined, and I think De Niro, it wasn't his best performance. We'll put it that way.
There you guys have it. The Irishman made the list 2019, one of the must-sees, or ones that stood out to us here at Critics. I'm going to go with... see, I don't know which one I should talk about next. You know what? I'm going to go with this one. And this is not... It's not that it's a great film. Like I said, films that stood out to us as great additions to what's to come and what is already. And I'm going to give this one to The Fast and the Furious Presents Hobbs and Shaw. It's better than what was expected. Way better than. Did you get a chance to see it?
No, I didn't see it.
So
I'm not gonna lie, I tapped out on this franchise. Like 4 films ago. You know that.
I'm a fan of the franchise in a point where like it's very entertaining. I know that if there's nothing else to see in the theater and there's a Fast and the Furious film, I know just to feed my theater crave, I'm gonna go see this movie and I'm gonna walk out of there like, well, that was a ride.
Yeah.
Nothing is believable anymore in this franchise. There's nothing sacred anymore.
So over the top.
Cars fly. Humans dive through the sky.
Humans
and land,
can breathe underwater.
Yeah, they land on their feet. They can eat bullets at this point. Literally, I'm not exaggerating.
I know you're not.
Bullets don't faze people in this franchise anymore. And The Rock is always a good treat, man. I mean, I feel like you put The Rock in something, you're either going to really love it or you're going to be like, that was ridiculous. And this one is both. And then they make a joke out of, Statham, who entered this franchise on a very, very horrific note. Like, I was afraid of this guy when he first... Did you see that point?
I was still watching at that point.
Okay, when he first came into the franchise...
He wipes out Han, doesn't he?
Yeah. Literally kills one of their friends.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, he literally kills one of their friends and then somehow becomes one of their allies.
That's what I kind of didn't grasp about this. Granted that I understand that Hobbs is not kind of in that family per se, I guess. But that was one of the things that it just kind of like... I didn't understand how he was getting brought back and he's kind of like a part of the crew. It
was like one of those things where like it was against them. Like they had no choice. They literally had no choice but had to do it. But... I mean, after a while, you would think that they would go their separate ways, and then the same thing kind of happens with the Hobbs and Shaw storyline, where something happens, and these are the only 2 guys that could handle the job.
Well, that's how they kind of linked up with The Rock initially.
Yeah.
He was kind of like bounty hunter searching for these dudes, and they ended up having to link because that was the only option they had.
But the cool thing about this is that it works. Like The Rock works.
Did it work?
The Rock works well with people. You put The Rock in a movie with somebody, he's either going to help them shine or he's going to shine well on his own. And this one, you got two guys who can pretty much stand on their own,
Yeah, that's true.
working together, and it just kind of works. It really takes you back to the whole buddy cop thing that you were talking about that we used to see in 90s and 80s films, where these two guys are great at what they do. They don't fucking like each other,
Yes.
but they're the best that can do it. And it really turns into one of those action buddy cop movies that you just want to just watch it and see it through and see how it's going to end, and it's fun. That's the one thing, like, you don't expect, like, you go in thinking this shit's going to be so ridiculous and so corny, but it's fucking fun. And I went in there with a new respect for The Rock and Statham, because now I'm questioning who really carries this franchise. We all loved Vin Diesel and Paul Walker at one point, but that dynamic is no longer there anymore.
Absolutely.
Now he's just Vin on his own, and he doesn't get along with any of his fucking castmates at this point. And The Rock and Statham, it was really a safety net for the studio, to be honest, because they knew once Paul Walker was gone, what was next, and they've kind of created something that could go on far beyond Fast and the Furious if they're careful with it.
Yeah. And I could tell that was the direction that they were trying to go in. My question is, and this was the one thing that kind of had me somewhat intrigued about this film, was how is Idris?
He's awesome. I mean,
because I thought he looked like he'd be a really dope villain.
He's really good. Here's the thing. You can't do wrong with him. I think he's likable. The women love him. Guys like him. The accent. He's Brits on screen are.
It just
works.
Yeah. Whether
villain or a good guy.
Yeah. Particularly as the villain.
Yeah. Definitely.
I feel like English cats are like really good villains.
Yeah. Yeah. So him being in this film, and he's up the whole vibe of bad versus good. The only ridiculous thing is that, like, this guy is like enhanced human. I don't know what the fuck to call it.
He kind of was giving me like a Winter Soldier vibe.
Yeah. At this point, the Fast and the Furious is like a Marvel movie, and it works though. It just fucking works.
I'll have to check that out.
You just don't take it seriously. You just go in and, like, I mean, you've seen what they're doing in Fast and the Furious. Like, cars literally fly.
Oh, it's ridiculous. They're jumping out of cars simultaneously and jumping into each other's arms.
Yeah.
Out of vehicles. When I saw that, I was like, get out of here.
Yeah. So that's happening. All kinds of other crazy, and like I said, people are bulletproof in this movie. But other than that, it's just a fun ride. Oh, The Rock drags a helicopter while it's flying in the air. I kid you not. So
the sad thing is, I believe you.
but they make it look fun.
It's like it looks like it. He could do that.
Yeah. But this is a standout film for me this year. Something that, not a great movie, but a fun movie, and definitely something, especially if you're into the Fast and the Furious, you don't want to miss this. You want to just throw this in and check this out, because who knows, it may connect at some point. They may use it to save the rest of the franchise that's going on. They got, 2 more movies left? 9 it's on its way, and then it's supposed to end off on 10. And then who knows, Hobbs and Shaw may go to like number 20. But check it out, man. I mean, it's cool to be in that world. They do make mention of other characters, but there are no direct cameos from the Fast and Furious franchise. But it's a standalone. It'll be around for a little bit. At least I know they'll at least get another one for sure.
So if you're like me and you were questioning this film, take Keith's word for it. Check it out. It's the end of the year list, and if Keith says it belongs there, then it belongs there.
Yeah, I mean.
So I'm gonna go to my last pick for my top 5.
Okay.
It's one that needs no introduction.
Uh-oh.
It's one that you've probably been waiting for one of us to say. It is the infamous Joker film.
Oh.
Directed by one and only Todd Phillips, starring Joaquin Phoenix. You got Robert De Niro in there. It's just a great fucking movie.
I forget De Niro's in that. That's
yes.
Right. You're right.
If you don't know, this film was actually originally in Martin Scorsese's lap. It was something that he was going to work on, but he got engulfed with The Irishman. He ended up becoming an executive producer and kind of handing it off to Todd Phillips, which I'm sure the studios were unsure about it, to say the least. But studios usually will look at numbers more so than their catalog. So the fact that Todd Phillips has not really ever done a film like this before, I don't think bothered them.
Yeah.
I think the fact that they look at the fact that he's done The Hangover, which did numbers.
Whole trilogy.
The whole trilogy did numbers. I mean, he did Due Date. That did numbers for like what that was. Old School. He's got all these Starsky and Hutch. These are all films that like have done numbers. They reach a big audience. And I'm not gonna lie. I don't want to say I was skeptical, but I was very curious as to how Todd Phillips was gonna pull this movie off, because from the offset we kind of saw that it was going to be like a darker film, and that's what we wanted. I felt like with the whole fucking Juicy J Joker that Leto was, with the fucking gold teeth and the tattoos, and making him just like some pimp from Harlem or whatever.
All that chit chat's gonna get you hurt.
Yeah, like I think we needed to go back to the basics and get a more fundamentally minimalistic film that kind of gets you down to the nitty-gritty of a psychopath.
Yeah.
And I thought they did a really good job. Phillips said himself he wanted to take it as more of a character study for someone has psychopathic issues. And I thought from a fundamental standpoint, I mean, making his laugh a mental health condition.
Yeah.
I thought all the subtle nuances that he did with this film and the Joker's characteristics were all true to life things. They're all realistic things. He didn't get dropped into a fucking vat of acid.
Yeah.
He's just a guy that has been beaten down by society. He has mental issues. He gets off of his meds because Gotham is kind of rotting away, and they don't have the money to kind of fund his program where he gets his medication and where he gets his counseling from. And he ends up going off the hinges and becoming what we know as the Joker. And it's one of those films that it's like the Ledger thing. I can't really think of many other movies that I think we've talked about this before, where you're like locked in. You're like at the edge of your seat. You're very unsure of what's going to happen next. You know what I mean? You feel the angst that he feels. It's one of those movies that just takes you on a ride from start to finish. You're right there with him. It is a very slow burn with a chilling score. It's going to be in my end of the decade list. It's just one of those movies that it's going to, like we said, it transcends time. You could watch this movie in 50 years. It's going to be relevant. It's going to be not dated. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the Joker to me was definitely what I wanted to see. When it came to another iteration of this character, because of my big thing with DC is that I'm tired of seeing the same characters.
Agreed.
In every film, and this was surprising to see Joaquin. You're already like, Joaquin's a great actor, but can he go there?
Yeah.
And then you see what Ledger brought to the table, and you're like, can anyone go there? So to see him actually take this on and take it seriously, I mean, it's very, very dark, very, very slow. He doesn't give us too much of the character right away. We see a man who's just having a really, really bad day, and where that day takes him. And I thought it was phenomenal. It is the perfect villain origin story that then links with the hero.
Oh yeah, the end. I know you weren't a huge fan of the ending.
Yeah, because
for obvious reasons, because it's been done as many times as it's been done. But for me, it was like a wow, like okay, like that was a really good way for them to kind of intersect that.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I mean, it was expected. Like I
wasn't expecting it. I didn't think they were going to do it in this.
I went in saying that if they're going to do this movie and they're going to do it the right way, I know for a fact that during the end of this movie, because I already had wind that they were going to show the theater in the alley scene, and I was like, this is going to all tie into the birth of Bruce Wayne becoming Batman, and yeah, so I just didn't know when or how they were going to show it, but I knew that we were going to get a piece of it. My only thing that didn't happen, that I was so happy didn't happen, and I think I said this on the last podcast, was that about this film, was that I'm glad that they didn't make him the shooter.
Yeah, how he kind of motivated and inspired the shooter. Yeah, no, I agree.
I think it would have been too on the nose and just too like, come on.
And it's something that, like, for me, I grew up on Batman Beyond, which, if you guys are familiar with that show, he killed a new Joker every week.
Yeah.
There was like a zillion different Jokers in the show, and that's what I grew up on, so that's what I always knew. And I had never seen that played out on the big screen before, where it could be anybody. And I think they say that in one of the Batman films, like it could be anybody, like it could, like Batman could be anybody. You know what I mean? It's meant to inspire people, and it's like Batman is usually the one who kind of inspires like a new Robin or a Catwoman, or he's inspiring these people. But we've never seen a villain inspire someone else to become like a villain or a similar villain. So yeah, I agree. I thought that was really cool. And just for fans of cinema, like I said it in my review, like if you're a fan of, like if you ever saw Martin Scorsese's Taxi Driver with Robert De Niro, 1978, I believe.
They've been comparing it a lot.
Great film. Yeah. It's very similar. It's a very similar storyline. It's just a regular guy starting off. He has a job and he just gets tossed away by society and beaten down by, people around him, and that pushes him to this point. He's not just some crazy guy for no reason. He has his reasons, which is something that I'm always a big fan of. I know you're a big fan of that as well. Motivation and having the proper motives that fit into the story. So for me, I think that was the most flawless film of the year, if I was to say. If I was to rank, it would probably be my number one. It was on both of our lists. Great film. If you haven't seen it, if you're one of the 5 or 6, 7 people in the world that haven't seen it, definitely check it out. Over a couple billion now that have went to see it in theaters.
This movie has broken all records for rated R releases.
Yeah.
It's definitely getting a sequel. They've already, said that they're in talks of doing a sequel.
Not sure how I feel about that. I think we've talked about that before.
Listen, I think it could work. Like I said, I don't like the obvious shit. We get it. Batman they've already introduced him. Well, they've introduced his origin. His parents are murdered.
Yeah.
I think that if they're going to go this route, they might as well go the Gotham route and give us another Joker storyline as he wreaks havoc.
So no Joaquin.
No, Joaquin, yeah.
Use him, but as like a side piece.
No. Do Joker. Another Joker sequel. Another Joker movie, a sequel, direct, about the Joker and his reign, the clown prince, causing chaos, but give us either another hero in the DC world or another villain.
Kind of like what Nolan was trying to do.
Don't give us Batman.
Yes.
Please don't.
Well, that's what that's what they want to do.
Yeah. Don't give us Batman. We're already intrigued with the Joker storyline.
Yes.
And how he's inspired the city, like you said, to take over and so give us more of that chaos. Let's see the repercussions. Let's see his rise to being the baddest villain in Gotham City. Let's see the chaos. Gotham was on the right track with that.
Absolutely.
The fans wanted Batman so bad.
I know.
That they rushed it. They rushed it. I feel like because a lot of those villains weren't even around before Batman was Batman. So let's do that. Let's do what Gotham was trying to do, but do it the right way. There were so many other villains that I'm sure were around that could have tried to intervene before Batman was born.
I feel like just the whole listening to the fans thing is always going to get you in trouble. And it always reminds me of this quote I heard when I was younger. It's a sports quote, but I think it applies to this, where it's like the moment that you start listening to the fans is the second you're up in the stands with them. And it's like you need to be, as a creator, you need to take the reins of something and just do what you want with it. Trust your gut, trust your instincts. You know what I mean? And from what you're saying, it sounds a lot like what Nolan was trying to do with his universe.
Yeah.
Where Joker was supposed to kind of inspire Bane, and they were supposed to Bane was going to be Joker's henchman. But when Heath passed, obviously, Nolan didn't want to recast the Joker. So he kind of just abandoned that whole character arc. But that's what he was going for.
Yeah.
The Joker was supposed to wreak havoc in number 2 and inspire a new villain, Bane, to pop up in 3, and Joker was supposed to unleash him on Gotham. And I think that would be really dope if they were to do that with Joaquin. If they keep playing it out with Joaquin, get him out of that ward, which it appears that he escaped from it at the end of the movie, and get him back out into the world and get him to get his own sidekick.
Yeah.
Or a henchman.
They're gonna introduce
honestly, I like Margot Robbie. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like she's like the like the cookie cutter like studio version of what Harley Quinn should be.
The
I feel like they
commercial
could get a darker,
Yeah.
grittier Harley Quinn that could pair up, because I just don't see Margot Robbie and Joaquin really.
Yeah, no.
That doesn't. I don't see it.
Yeah.
But I think you could get a darker, grittier, more gothic Harley to link up, or just someone that's like a crazy chick that like is like similar to Harley.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I feel like. Start introducing some new blood into the DC universe.
Well, yeah, because the storyline of Harley is she meets Joker as his psychiatrist. She's trying to reach him while he's behind bars in Arkham Asylum, and ends up falling in love with him and breaking him out. So that would be great to tap, into.
Yes.
You're right. Margot Robbie is the commercial fluff version of Harley Quinn, even though she's brutal.
She does a good job.
Yeah, she does a great job, and she's brutal, and it's edgy, and it's rated R. Even the new cartoons rated R. They try to stay on that on track with that, but like you said, it's not a serious tone. I feel like the Joker is a more serious tone to this iteration of the comic. So they need someone, like you said, that can match that darkness. So I agree.
We'll see.
Yeah. Wrapping the list up, mine is also an obvious choice for 2019 most standout film. Probably my number one for the entire year, and probably a lot of yours. Avengers Endgame.
Solid flick.
Very solid flick. Very great wrap up to the 22 films, 10 years in the making. Marvel Studios starting in 2008. Leading up to this grand finale, fan service to the 10,000th power. I'm talking about anything that you've ever wanted to see in the MCU that we could get legally, we got.
I like that you threw legally in there. That's very important.
You know what I mean? Anything that Marvel had their hands on that belonged to them, property-wise, IP, they gave to us.
It was involved, absolutely.
Yeah, they gave to us, and they didn't care whether there were plot holes. They didn't care if it made any goddamn sense, and neither did we. Like, we didn't care until after the fact. We were like, holy shit, but damn, wait a minute. But what about this? What about that? But we thought about it after the fact. We probably saw it 10 times before we even gave a fuck about the shit that didn't make sense. But while you were there, you were enjoying that ride. You were enjoying seeing Howard the Duck show up in the final battle. You were stoked to see Rescue, played by Gwyneth Paltrow, come in and help Tony alongside. But nobody questioned, how does Gwyneth Paltrow know how to fly this damn suit? Or why is she here? When did Tony have time to make it for her? There was just so much epicness and so much, like, dude, we're like kids with ADHD watching a light show. We're just like, oh my God, holy shit, that was, oh wait, huh? Dude, that movie wrapped up the MCU over 10 years like nothing, in and out, without doing too much. They dragged along the storyline from Infinity War.
They did drag it in the very early beginnings.
Yeah.
And I get that they were trying to slow burn it.
Yeah. Because they knew what they were giving us at the end.
It's like we gotta pace ourselves. This is kind of the last hurrah of that early generation of Marvel Cinematic Universe. But I mean, it gave us Avengers Assemble.
Yeah.
We didn't get that before.
Yeah.
That was one of those things. That's like a nut we've been waiting on for a while.
Yeah, dude. I mean,
I'm sure that was satisfying
Yeah.
for the Marvel fandom universe.
Yeah. I almost wanted to jump out of my seat at that point. Like, I was like, yo, he's really about to say it. And not only is he going to say it, he's doing it by holding Mjolnir, the fucking hammer.
Yeah.
Like, dude, the Russos.
They couldn't have did that better.
These guys, man, I want to give them a standing ovation every time. And
yeah.
That scene never gets old. I watch it all the time. I've probably seen that movie like 100 times already. But that is the ultimate standout movie of 2019 to me. And that's when I was talking about in the beginning when I said that there were some movies that came out that were so epic and so, like, people were just on the edge of their seats waiting for it, that once that ride was over, everything else just kind of fell by the wayside. You know what I mean? Like, it was just like, okay, I've got what I've wanted for 2019. Now, what's out there?
Particularly in that pocket too, I feel like when that whole wave crashed, it was almost like I didn't really want to. It was almost like I said, I was telling someone this the other day. It was like when Drake stopped making music like a year or so ago. I was kind of like, like drop that and stop making music for like 2 years. I need that. I just need you to take a step back.
Yeah.
And that's why Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was so refreshing for me, because I was like, oh, okay, we're starting to step back into cinema. It does not everything needs to be a Hobbs and Shaw,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
Six
yeah.
Underground, or a fucking some over the top action
Yeah.
flick. Yeah, I think that was a perfect cap to that. I mean, for me personally, I'm a huge Iron Man fan, so to see Iron Man's last breath essentially be I am Iron Man
Yeah.
as he snaps his fucking fingers with the gauntlet on. I mean, I could have walked out right then and there and been like, I'm good to go. Like, they did it. They did a great job. Yeah, I mean, I think it was everything that it was hyped up to be. I think they delivered on everything that they needed to deliver on.
Yep, absolutely.
I think they closed the door on the things that they needed to close the door on, as much as it hurt us. And it was sad to see. I almost shed a tear, although I did shed a tear in Infinity War. Personally, I think we've had this talk before. I think Infinity War is a little better.
Yeah. Hands down. It would have been great to see all of that in one film, if it was possible.
And like I said, we would have saw it.
Yeah.
If you put it, what would that be? Like 6.5 hours if you put Infinity and Endgame together?
Yep.
I'd see it.
Yeah.
I'd see it.
Yep.
I know you would.
Oh yeah, I definitely would have. I mean, there are people who binge watch every single movie before the last movie comes out. I definitely would have. I don't even know how my brain would have comprehended if I would have saw that entire Infinity War and Endgame in one sitting for the very first time. I don't even know. It almost makes me wish I could go back and do it all over again. Wipe my memory clean.
Yeah.
Like someone MIB me so I can go back and start over and just watch.
Well, if you could just put one of those fucking movies down for more than a month at a time, which you have been completely unable to do. Every time I talk to you, I was just watching Endgame the other night.
Dude.
Like, bro, what are you on, 25 now?
And now that I got Disney Plus, man, I literally,
Oh my God.
It's like my go-to all the time when I just want to just
You can just go to sleep, you just throw something on.
Yeah, I throw Endgame on. I've even put friends onto it. All 22 movies. We're gonna watch them all. Start from the beginning. We watch the whole thing, and same reaction. Everyone clings to Iron Man. Everyone is fucking rip shit at the end.
But like I said, it's one of those things that you kind of knew it had to happen at some point, and I thought they did him justice. That he didn't go out like a chump. He didn't go out, with a whisper. It was explosive. I mean, he saved the world with his last breath.
Yeah.
You can't really give the GOAT Tony Stark any proper send-off than that. You know what I mean? He saved the fucking world.
Yeah.
If you're going to go like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Definitely.
So, absolutely great cap to that decade
Yeah.
of Marvel movies and superhero movies.
We could do a whole decade show on just that.
We really could have.
On just the Marvel movies.
When I was working on my list, I started doing a comic book section, and I was just like, Jesus, like this is gonna take forever.
Yeah. Yeah.
You really have to put a lot of time in that because there's so many fucking movies that came out, especially if you count DC, because DC squeaked a few in there that were like pretty solid. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Looking forward to Wonder Woman 84. I think it's gonna be good.
Should we get into the honorable mentions? You want to do a couple?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. There are a couple honorable mentions. I know you recently saw the Uncut Gems.
Yeah, Uncut Gems would definitely be in the honorable mentions. I don't think it was on my top 5. I don't know if it would have hit your 5, so it probably wouldn't have made this 10. Great movie, thrill ride, start to finish. I mean, Sandler delivers, as you probably heard already. Kevin Garnett delivers. If you're a fan of the Celtics, dope movie to watch for that little dynamic. And like he had a few like supporting cast members that are like new that I had never really heard of. His girlfriend in the movie, she's kind of she's new on the scene. I forget her name. Yeah, she delivers. Like everyone delivers. It's one of those movies where it's
Julia
like,
Fox.
Yes.
Yeah.
Julie Fox?
Julia
Fox, yeah. Unbelievable. She does a great job, and it's like the first time I've ever seen her anything. It's one of those movies where it's like you might not know all the actors, but they all deliver, and you know they're delivering. While you're watching it, you're like, wow, everyone is selling this like brilliantly. It's one of those movies that just drops you right into like you're into the frying pan, into the fryer, like out of the frying pan into the fryer, and it is not a slow burn. It is a thrill ride from start to finish. I mean, it has a few down moments, but definitely a must-see. I'm really curious to hear what you say about it.
I'm definitely going to check that out. I haven't got a chance, but I will check that out before the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely it's just outside the list, to be honest with you. Great flick for Adam Sandler. I was really happy to see him kind of step outside of himself because it's like that's kind of been his knock is that he's kind of like a one-trick pony. And he has done the drama before.
I like him when he does the drama stuff.
Me too.
Spanglish was awesome.
Punch Drunk Love was solid.
Awesome.
He just doesn't get enough credit for it.
Yeah.
And I think he's finally getting the recognition that he deserves for being able to have a range. Definitely a must see for me, especially 2019. You look back, definitely a must see for sure.
Some of I got two. I don't know which one I really want to dabble into, but I have Us. They're both Daniel Kaluuya films. Us and Queen and Slim. Everyone right now is talking about Queen and Slim. They think it's one of the go-to films of the year. A modern day Bonnie and Clyde type story about two couples that go on a first date. I think it's like a dating app thing. They go on the date together and for the first time, and then they get pulled over, and there's a police officer who gets murdered in the mix of it all. And then they go on a run. So it's like the ultimate love story, and everybody's
super relevant.
Yeah, it's super with the times, and I get it. It's a great film, and everybody is championing this film. So definitely one of the honorable mentions. And then there's Us, which is
that was on my honorable mentions as well.
Jordan Peele, second run on the horror genre. Very, very trippy. Very, very
mind fuck to the highest degree.
Smart.
Very smart.
Not typical.
Not at all.
And very big in pop culture because now they have pop figures.
Well, and that's what I was saying too. Is it's like some of these movies nowadays, everything's been done before. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's really refreshing to see someone just kind of do something that it may not even make sense, because I've had many conversations with people about, what this mean? What did that mean? And I think he says it in the beginning of the movie where he talks about the tunnels underground, and he's like, some of them have no purpose at all.
Yeah.
And that always stuck with me, that line, that last line that he does before he intros the movie.
Yep.
Because I just kind of felt like it was one of those movies where there may be a rhyme and reason for it, but there doesn't have to be. And I personally don't think there was. I think it was just one of those movies that, it's doppelgangers.
Yeah, and you kind of take it however you want to perceive the film, and that's good. It sparks a conversation. I like films like that where
Absolutely.
we don't all come out with the same outcome, because you can have that conversation when someone says, "Listen, this is what I took from it. What do you think?"
It's like, wow, that's crazy, because I was thinking that. I wasn't even thinking that.
So we don't know what it is. We don't know if it's doppelgangers. We don't know if the government was cloning people. We don't know. We don't know anything. We just know that some bad people went bad, and it turned out. I liked it. It was very.
It was a badass film.
Yeah. So yeah, Us and Queen and Slim definitely like honorable mentions for standout films in 2019. Yeah, that's all I got there. I mean, other than that, anything else? Standout television, TV, movie?
No, I kind of felt like it was weird, because it's like a lot of the shows that I started to really like, they didn't really deliver for me this year. I thought Stranger Things was like a step backwards.
Yeah.
I thought 13 Reasons Why was a step backwards.
That didn't even make my list.
Yeah, and it's like they were like our top. They probably would have been top of the list last year or 2 years ago. I don't know if Ozark.
No, yeah, it hasn't come back
yet.
Oh,
was that this year or was that last year?
I think it was last year.
I think it was last year.
Waiting on 3 impatiently. I'm waiting very impatiently for 3. It was last year, because we didn't get anything this year. It was like the end of last year. Meaning 2018. But some of my standout TV shows this year, though, How to Get Away with Murder is still killing it for me. It's in this last season. They split up the last season into 2 parts, so it's not coming back till spring of 2020. I'm still on board with that. I cannot wait to see how it all ends. You season 2, fucking phenomenal.
Yeah, you love that.
Oh,
I haven't
dude,
seen that yet.
You haven't watched the first one?
I saw season 1, yeah.
Yeah,
and I liked it.
Second one is better. You'll enjoy it a lot better. They tied into social media a lot this season, and the ending. You're gonna be rooting for the guy by the end of it all.
Really,
it's really good. It's really, really phenomenal.
Okay, yeah, Ozark 2 was last year. Bless you. Another show that I just recently picked up on. I kind of waited till the hype died down. Was Living with Yourself? Paul Rudd.
Yeah, Paul
Great
Rudd.
show.
Yeah.
It was very surprising to me. I didn't know what to expect, to be honest. And Yeah, it was one of those shows I binged in one night.
Oh wow, how many episodes?
I think it's 10.
Oh, okay, I gotta get into it.
Yeah, dude, and I was just like, I put it on just kind of for it's one of those like that's what the beauty of Netflix. You could put something on just for shits and giggles, and it ends up keeping you up all night.
Yeah, you was only 10 episodes too.
Yeah, and it was just like how the end of each episode segues to the beginning of the next episode.
Yeah,
it's very interesting the way that they do it. Like, you gotta watch it because I don't want to give anything away because I thought the beauty of that show was I kind of went into it not really knowing what to expect. I thought it was just a regular guy living his everyday life.
See, I thought it was a movie. I didn't know it was a series.
Yeah.
I definitely want to check it out because it reminds me of Multiplicity with Michael Keaton.
Yeah, you told me that, and that's an interesting parallel. I could see that. That makes sense.
There really are no original ideas out there. So, I mean, even if it seems like it's original, it had to have stemmed from somewhere. Yeah, so I think those are some definite go-to standout television series from 2019 that will definitely roll over the next year. But definitely check out that. Definitely check out You. Definitely check that out. And I'm definitely going to check out Living with Myself.
Yeah, I think you really like it, and you like Paul Rudd too.
Love Paul Rudd.
Yeah, so if you
is there a comedy aspect to it though? Is it not? Is it drama or is it comedy? Or a little both?
That's the thing. Like, it's very it tiptoes on the drama side, but it's a comedy. Generally.
Okay, cool. Then I'm all in.
It's Paul Rudd comedy.
Then
so
I'm
it's
all
like
in.
it's not like slapstick. It's kind of like
yeah.
stale. It's like it is what it is. It's exactly what you expect from a Paul Rudd show or movie.
I'm all in.
Yeah, you'll love it.
Then I am definitely all
also
in.
just to cap that one off is the Don't Fuck with Cats. It's definitely an interesting.
I saw that.
I saw
that. I did.
It's definitely an interesting watch. It's one of those you definitely should check out. It's it'll blow your mind.
It will blow your mind. What I took from that is that there
Don't
are some
fuck with the cats.
There are some sick individuals out there.
Yes.
And some even nosier ones.
Yeah, it's very. It's kind of a metaphor for like just like the worst possible people out there. Like it's the live, living, breathing version of that. Definitely watch that for a little shock value if you're into that type of thing, documentary style.
Yeah.
It's definitely worth the watch and it'll blow your socks off.
The internet has become the new lady on the porch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean by that?
Absolutely, yes. 100%.
You could be screwing whoever you want. You could be...
It could be getting recorded and put up on YouTube somewhere.
And there are people out there who are policing your behavior who don't work for any government companies or any law, any authority with the law. There are just regular Joe Schmoes and Jones out there, just like Wade and I, who are policing your behavior.
Looking to make a citizen's arrest.
Yeah. So
whim.
Be careful out there.
Yeah. Watch your step.
It's a good documentary though, and I stand behind what they were trying to do.
Yes.
And it's very sad that the police weren't more instrumental in the citizen's arrest via the internet, because quite frankly there are no rules and boundaries on the internet, and that's a gift and a curse.
Absolutely.
Because it wouldn't be us doing what we do if there were, if
there was no
rules. If the FFC was,
if I had to go through CBS to get this thing to you, it probably wouldn't work out for us.
Yeah.
So shout out to the internet for that, but it also has its disadvantages.
Yeah, it does.
It's a very thin thread.
Another good one that I just started to watch, the Kevin Hart one. Don't Fuck This Up or something of that nature on Netflix.
It on Netflix?
Yeah, it's on Netflix. A new thing that just dropped the other day.
The show?
Yeah, it's a docuseries. It's like
I don't think I've seen that.
Yeah, it's called Don't Fuck This Up. It's literally between 2017 and right before the accident, so we don't get anything about the accident.
Oh, yeah. I think I did see that, actually.
But we get some behind-the-scenes stuff, some really good surprises in it, too, because it's talking about films that he's working on with certain stars, and he has actual sit-downs with these stars, like pitch meetings. Like he's in the works of remaking one of my favorite movies from the 70s, which is Uptown Saturday Night, which had Sidney Poitier and Bill Cosby in it originally, and he wants to do a chat with Boseman. And I think that that's phenomenal, and you guys should check it out because you get a better understanding of what Kevin Hart goes through day to day. He talks about when he got caught with the female. He talks about when his wife got pregnant. He talks about his apology. He talks about when he got fired from the Oscars, or stepped down from the Oscars, I should say. He talks about that. Like it's all happening in real time. Like,
which the internet pretty much did that.
But what I'm saying is that he was filming this docuseries during those times.
Wow.
So you're going to see the real interviews, the real behind the scene reaction to the backlash as it's happening in real time during this. He even there's a sentimental moment where one of his closest friends is getting married. He's at the actual wedding. And it's good. That's
dope.
It's like 6 parts. It's like a six episode docuseries called "Don't Fuck This Up."
Yeah. So if you're a fan of Kevin Hart, check that out for sure. It's on Netflix.
Today it's on there. It's been on there
since he's bringing shit back. Like, can someone? I've been wanting someone to reboot Brewster's Millions. Can someone do that?
Thank you. I think
feel like
he's
Kevin Hart
perfect.
would body
He's
that.
perfect for that.
Like, we need that.
Yeah, we got somewhat of an iteration with Mr. Deeds. Kinda, but not. I like the premise of Brewster's Millions a lot better.
I feel like Kevin Hart would be perfect for it.
And all they got to do is just ante up the amount. Like he's got what? How many days did he have? 30 days to spend $1 million.
To spend $1 million.
$1 million. Now you have to get $1 billion because you can spend $1 million on a house.
Literally. Well, they had a lot of stipulations with that. It had to be
one.
something that you couldn't like write off. It had to be something that like, I forget the specific stipulations, but it made him not be able to go buy a house. And
he couldn't donate.
He couldn't donate. It had to be like, they did a really good job with the stipulations. It made it very difficult for him. And I would love to see a modern day take on that. So yeah, we're gonna get the petition going on that. Yeah, and we're gonna send that to Kev. And
absolutely,
we're gonna try to get that going.
You know what? Critics will for 2020. We're gonna start a petition for Kevin Hart to remake Brewster's Millions because it needs to happen.
You hear it first.
No one else is qualified to do this movie other than Kevin Hart, and I think he should do that.
100%. We need that.
Yes, sir. So that's all I got for this episode, man. 2019.
Yeah, I mean, we wrapped it up.
It's coming to an end. We will try our hardest to get a decade one for you guys very, very soon. We got to talk about the last 10 years. I mean, we're about to go into 2020.
Can't believe it.
No more one in front of that. In front of the.
Yeah, like it's gonna take me a couple months to get that. On my pen.
Any of you guys that work in the offices or at school, it's gonna be tough.
It'll be a struggle.
White out all day.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, we're gonna wrap this up. 2019 standout films and television series. 2019. We will see you guys in 2020 with more exciting things coming from Critics Media. The whole team. We'll see you at more Comic-Cons. We'll see you. We're talking to more celebrities, more news, more trailers, more updates. I'm Klep Napier.
Wade Swift.
And we want to make sure that you all make sure that for 2020 you wake up, be passionate, create, and repeat. Critics Talk. We out.